We are all set. Just get those alerts up. There we go. Good morning, everyone. It is Fantabulous Friday, Good Friday for those who practiced Christian beliefs. And this is Carol Sue, AKA Live to
Sisters. Okay, and good morning, everyone. My name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Sometimes we have brain issues. We're no different than anybody else, right? It's all good. Obviously, Fantabulous Friday. It's Good Friday, and we chatted about Holy Week last night on our Trending Thursday at Night podcast. And a lot of recipes going on, family traditions, and that's always an amazing thing. Excuse me. Speaking of weather, we had a great day here yesterday. I know that thunderstorms, we had some pretty severe thunderstorms that rolled through. We had some rain, but we really were not affected by it. So I know that a lot of people still do not have power. So it is that time of the season. And when we speak of seasons, of course, it's springtime. And then after spring and summer, we know that there are the seasons of, excuse me, the weather. But there's also seasons with your health, I should say. So mine always seems to be going through a season. So, I'd like to pose a question out there. What do you do when you know that things are changing or, things are different? Maybe something that you used to consume or drink doesn't agree with you anymore. So what do you do when you recognize those signs? Do you keep doing what you're doing?
Right. Well, you know what? I don't think a lot of people do recognize the signs. I think that's part of the misconception of really being in tune with your body and listening to your body. Everyone says, well, what do you mean listen to your body? Well, our bodies are fine machines, and we talk about that all the time. Just like when you have a vehicle, you got to take care of the engine, the normal oil changes, tune-ups, checkups, making sure that there's enough air in your tires so you have balance. So, if you got tires that are low and maybe it's one or two, all of a sudden you notice some shaking, your ride is not so smooth anymore. Well, that's the same as our bodies. And unfortunately, we can't control the environment. A lot of times we can't control how food is made, whether you're going out to dinner or whether you're even buying food in the grocery store, you don't know what type of pesticides were used. You don't know where things have been grown. Is it organic soil? Is it not? Even though some things say they're organic, I always question, well, it does say it's organic, but we know that there's a certain amount of years that soil has to be pesticide free in order to label it organic. And I want to say it's between the 7 to 10 year mark, meaning that soil is not consuming anything, and that is a certain amount of distance away from other areas, farms or whatever that may be using pesticides. And there are natural ways to do pesticides as well. But we know that, sadly, this is the world that we live in. Not only that is our body and our hormonal structural changes every 7 years. So that means, you may notice a difference in your skin, your hair, your nails. As you go from decade to decade, you're going to notice a depleting collagen. You are going to notice that, ooh, I used to be able to eat that cheesecake, and all of a sudden I'm eating it, and within 30 minutes I'm in the bathroom. Well, that's your body telling you, you can't consume that. And it doesn't mean you can never consume it. It means that maybe you have to go lighter. Maybe you have to change the recipe up. Maybe you can't have as much. We know from experience, because of our age, that we don't eat the same way we did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. That's the fact. And it's because our bodies are changing. The body's telling us. And a lot of people will notice that as you age, and one of the common things that I hear when they have elderly parents, oh, they're eating not even enough for a bird. Well, their appetite is not the same as it was. They're not burning the calories. Their metabolism is really depleted. It's slowed down. So you have to be very choosy and picky if you notice that your appetite is going in that direction, to make sure that you're adding the most value of quality versus quantity. And there's a flip side to that in the entrepreneurial world, where we do talk about quantity versus quality. But when we're talking about what we're putting in our bodies and our health and wellness, it really has to do about the quality of what we're putting in, because we know that, our bodies are changing. And a lot of times people, when I say they don't recognize the signs, a lot of people assume that you get food poisoning within a certain amount of, fairly quickly. Now, food poisoning could consist of vomiting, also could be diarrhea, also could be, you breaking out in your skin or whatnot. You may have a hard time breathing. You might have some itching going on. That would be an allergic reaction to a food item. But there's also those very similar effects of just food that it's not necessarily that you're allergic to, is your body can't process it the same way, and you get that same reaction. So you've got to kind of know the difference. Usually when you are allergic, you really get this nauseous feeling as well. And 9 out of 10 times it's a lot more of vomiting and diarrhea, which, those are not pleasant things to talk about first thing in the morning, but it's just a reality. But for other people, those two same pieces are like, I can't tolerate dairy anymore. I can't tolerate gluten anymore. I can't tolerate fried food anymore, fast food anymore. Now, yeah, probably in your early years, you were younger, so your body could process it, and not only process it, get it out of your system quickly enough where you didn't notice that you may have had an issue. But because our metabolism, our bodies naturally slow down as we age, we don't break things down as quickly. And if something enters the body and the body doesn't like it, the gut, the colon don't like it, boy, it's gone. It's going to go. So why would you, the question would be then, if you're experiencing those things every time you eat fried food, every time you eat rich food, dairy, gluten, why would you keep eating it?
That's a very excellent question. And speaking from my own personal experience, before I really knew anything about nutrition and whatnot, because we like what we like when we like it and when we want to have it. And, sometimes it is hard to put 2 and 2 together, and, to realize, and what I realized at that moment in time was something's going on. I couldn't pinpoint it. So that was when I started to keep a log, excuse me, of what I was eating it, when I was eating it, and why I was eating it. You'd be amazed at some of the whys I wrote down. Because I'm bored. And I'm real here, I'm going to give you the whole story, but it's the realization, oh, okay, oh my God. Yeah. Every time I walk by the cabinet that has potato chips in it, I'm not just eating a little bowl of potato chips. I'm eating the whole damn bag. Like that's a problem. That's an issue. And I just kept doing it until I cataloged it. And I'm like, oh, we got to stop this. This is not good. So it's being honest enough with yourself to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what my body's telling me. This must be what I'm doing wrong. What can I do to change that? And, I've asked myself that question all the time with a person that I know that they go through this all the time. And I feel bad. And you want to help someone, but the bottom line is you have to be able to help yourself and know that, it's okay to ask for help. That's the big thing too. Like, hey, I'm having a problem with this, can you help me out with it? Well, sure. But you have to be real honest with yourself. And I, 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be, it's going to be a problem. And 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 I don't think a lot of people know how to do that.
No, they don't. And I think, I think especially as you age, you think, well, I should know that. I should know that my body's reacting that way. Other times it's, I don't want to, I'm going to ignore it. I don't care. And you find yourself kind of in that spiral of trying to fight the system, and the system is your body. You're trying to fight and say, I love that damn cheesecake. I love those fried clams, and I'm going to eat them regardless. Or I like, French fries, or I like that cheeseburger because, depending on where you get, whether it's grilled, whether it's fried, those quesadillas that, that rich goodness that, how they have all those different cheesy type of dips, or the sour cream and mayonnaise type dips, your body just doesn't react to them. So what I'm finding is when I'm talking to clients or, people just in general about nutrition and gut health, and I said, back off of it. I'm not saying ever give anything up. If you have a specific allergy, of course, you wouldn't, if you're allergic to bees, you're not going to, walk into a bee's hive and stand there and let the bees bite you. You're going to run like hell, right? Well, you should be running like hell from the foods that don't agree with your gut anymore. And it doesn't mean it, obviously if you're highly allergic to them, if you're having a sensitivity to it, no one is saying to give it up, but it's saying to back off of it for a while, eliminate that whole food group, see how your gut reacts. You find like, wow. A lot of people don't realize, and we've talked about it several times this week, that dairy is the #1 food group of inflammation. So why would you continue to eat a lot of it? It doesn't say you can't have it. But, if you're like, diving into the, cheese and crackers and the cheese dips, and then the lasagna with the cheese and the ricotta cheese and the Parmesan cheese and, cheese and bologna sandwiches, well, you're on overload. An ice cream, milk, milk does the body good is a fallacy, people. We fell into that trap in the 50s and the 60s, and it's a fallacy. Milk does not do the body good. If you really understand that cows are also injected with hormones, you want to make them fatter, right? Got to produce that milk quicker, which then is transferred from there to what you're actually drinking. People wonder why all of a sudden, because the food sources have changed. How they manufacture and produce things have changed. But guess what hasn't changed? Our biological makeup, our bodies, our guts. So we are trying to eat like we did, say, if you're in that age category, 50s and 60s, there's a huge difference in the supply chain, how it's produced, how it's manufactured to 2022. Totally different gamut. So you have to be mindful. And you know what, if you're tired of sitting on the toilet or getting sick or getting headaches or feeling sluggish, then you have to get real with yourself and say, you know what, let me start keeping a journal, writing down what I'm, when I find like I'm having that reaction, and writing it down and saying, you know what, let me cut it in half. Or instead of eating it 4 times a month, let me go down to 2 times a month and get even bigger than that. Say, I'm going to use cheesecake as a example. Have maybe 1 or 2 bites, not the whole piece. And then if you're still having those issues, then like, even with a little amount, I really shouldn't be eating that. Or if your body didn't have that same reaction, you still didn't feel 100% good, but you're like, I tolerated it, then that tells you, oh, I can still enjoy it. I just can't eat it as often, and I've got to have smaller amounts. No brainer.
Right. And, a great example for me is any fruit or vegetable that is orange and stringy, such as a sweet potato, turnips, and pumpkin pie.
Spaghetti squash.
All the
different squashes.
The stringy stuff I definitely cannot eat. However, and I think I talked about this a couple months ago with pumpkin pie. When I tell you I had the sliver, it was so little. And I got so sick.
Right.
So, what does that tell me? Yeah, I can only have like, when I say like a little taste, I mean just a little off the end of it. That's it. But
Right.
I think what the issue is too is those foods or things that we love, it's like in that moment, it is so damn satisfying.
Or it triggers, maybe it's a memory.
Mhm.
Maybe, you associate that with, an event, you associate it with a holiday, whatever it may be. And we get that. That has to do with mindset and, being that it's Fantabulous Friday, our mindset, even though we celebrate mindset on Monday, your mindset's every day. You don't just have one designated day. We just talk about those things in different aspects to kind of gear you up for today, which is Fantabulous Friday, which we did get a little off topic, but that's okay, because some of us had to kind of realize as they are preparing for this Easter feast that, I may have to change up some recipes. I got to understand that, I can't go back to eating, like even eggs, something as simple as eating eggs. I have to be careful of how many eggs I eat because I love it. Now it's funny. Now here's a funny. I can eat probably 2 hard-boiled eggs, but I got to be careful of an omelet. Now, why is that? Well, if you go out to a restaurant, the omelet's probably more than 2 eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to be mindful. So two eggs is about my limit. And I do enjoy a great hard-boiled egg, which we made eggs last night, and I can't wait to eat them. But the point is you have to know your limitations, because at the end of the day, especially during a holiday, like you may be at someone else's home. You don't want to get sick at someone else's home. That's not pleasant. You want to be in your own environment when you don't feel well. So we're trying ways of you to still have a fantabulous Friday that goes into your whole weekend, that you can be feeling your best, feeling vibrant, feeling good, but being mindful of what can my gut tolerate and what can it not, and is it worth it? Is it worth the price? And I think those that I see repeatedly go into that cycle, there's a missing piece with the mind in understanding and foregoing the aftermath of being sick. So in order to get your health in check, you got to get real with yourself. And sometimes that's not easy. And we know it's not easy by our own experiences. We know it's not easy, but we want to help you because we've been successful by really adapting and saying, you know what, I can do that soul searching. I've got to figure out if I can still enjoy it. If I cannot, if I got to eliminate it, or can I make it a different way that it still feels satisfying to me, that I still enjoy it, but it's with ingredients that my tummy can tolerate. And, that's when it comes. But, what are we celebrating today? What do we, when we talk about Monday Mindset, Triumph Tuesday, Wealth Wellness Wednesday, Trending Thursday brings us to Fantabulous Friday. And this is the day where we celebrate, and you should be celebrating yourselves. You pat yourself on the back and you say, I did a good job despite the odds. Maybe my mindset wasn't on point. Maybe I did have some triumphs, but I never really embraced that they were actually triumphs. Wealth Wellness Wednesday, did I, partake? Did I pay it forward in some way or another with kindness and generosity and gratitude? Trending, instead of just scrolling what's trending, was I the trendsetter? Did I rise above and really handle something differently instead of getting sucked into negativity? And this is the day that I say, I did a good job. So I hope all of you are saying you did a good job. What do you think, Jan?
Yes. And, don't create that, look at your enjoyment of in the moment versus the negative depletion that is going to create for you. I always ask myself that question. And, sometimes it's a good answer, sometimes it's not. And remember that we have the choice to decide. Be honest, be real with yourself. That's what it's all about. And that is fantabulous. My name is Janice, AKA Wellness Diva 5.0. We wish you a happy weekend, a happy Easter. And I'm with
TwoSistas, and this is Carol, so AKA Naughty Boss, live on this. It's a solemn day today. Today is Good Friday. And, it's funny when I've always heard the word Good Friday, and it is such a solemn occasion, I couldn't make the connection. I'm still trying to understand that connection. But The point is, yesterday was Holy Thursday, our Lord's Last Supper. Today is Good Friday. For obvious reasons, we know what it means. But through the darkness comes the light. So you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy your family, your friends. Don't overdo it in the sugar department, the dairy department, or the fried department. If you can do that, you've been successful. We will see you Monday for Monday Mindset. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.